Hello, welcome to the University of West London. My name is Ben Christopherson. I am going to teach you how to temper, and in this video, the second video on tempering, I'm going to show you the seeding method. So what I have here is approximately 600 grams of chocolate melted to 45 degrees. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce some chocolate from the Calabar range of chocolates, the same chocolate I've heated to 45 degrees. And these are called calettes. They're little small drops of chocolate that are very useful to be working with chocolate because they melt nice and evenly and quickly. So in this method, you are going to temper the chocolates by introducing crystalline structure tempered chocolate to melted chocolate. And as I described in the first video, what will happen when you introduce tempered chocolate into non-tempered chocolate, the crystalline structure of the cocoa butter in this chocolate will neaten up the formation of this cocoa butter into nice, neat formations, and it will set quickly as what we call tempered chocolate. So it's quite a simple process. All you need to do is have your melted chocolate at 45 degrees. Always have it on a little cloth to make sure there's no water, and pour the chocolate on top. And then what you're going to do is just nice and gently stir the chocolate. And as I'm doing this stirring process, the cocoa butter crystals from the chocolate from the packet, which is always in tempered form, will encourage the fluid chocolate at 45 degrees to start to make those formations of tempered chocolate. And also what will happen at this point is the temperature will start coming down, and the temperature will come down to the working range. So you want the working range to be, for dark chocolate, 31 to 32. Just while I'm stirring this and melting this, I mentioned just very briefly, when you buy chocolate from manufacturers, the chocolate is always tempered. And you can see and you can hear it, because when you pour it into your hands, you can hear it knocking into each other. It's a solid state. So you can also snap one of the calettes and see that it's tempered, okay? And that's important. So that chocolate is in a tempered state, ready to go. And whenever you use chocolate, like I said before, 99% of the time, you're going to be tempering it so that it will set and it will release itself from the mold, or you can roll a truffle with it and it will set on the outside, and it's much, much easier to work with. There is the odd occasion when I use chocolate and it's not tempered. For example, sometimes I might have to write happy birthday on a cake or a plate, and I'll just warm the chocolate to about 35 to 40 to use for that. There's no need for that chocolate to be in pristine tempered condition. So you can see now the chocolate's cooling down, starting to become thicker, so that's a good indication that it's getting towards the temperature, and the crystalline structure inside the chocolate will be much neater and it will start to be in towards tempered. One thing I will notice, it's a warm day today, is that that chocolate that I put in has melted very quickly. So I'm just going to test the temperature now and see how close we are to 31. And my suspicion is, my experience is, that it will be a little bit higher just because of the rapid rate that that chocolate melted. It's not a massive problem. You can just add a little bit more chocolate to get the temperature to come down. And as I suspected, it's at 33, so it's only 1 degree off. So I'm going to add a very, very small amount more just to try and encourage it to go down. So a question you might ask is, why would I want to do the seeding method, which is this method introducing calettes into the chocolate, over the marble method where you melt the mass and cool it down on the marble? And one of the reasons usually is space is one of them. If you don't have this big space to do the marble method, equipment is the other. Not all kitchens will have nice big pieces of marble in the kitchen, so this might be easier to do. And the other one, and this is quite a common one, is that on a warm day like today, this might be a better choice to do. You might have a little bit more control over the chocolate because you're adding crystalline chocolate, cocoa butter, to the chocolate rather than melting the mass, putting it onto what could be a warm marble, trying to get the temperature to go down, getting it backwards and forwards. The seeding method might be your best option, but you can choose. Also, if you're practicing this at home, which I would encourage you to do, if you're lucky enough to have enough chocolate and have a bit of space to do it, this would probably be the best method. It's slightly less messy than this one. You won't get chocolate all over someone else's kitchen. So what I'm showing you now is that chocolate has melted and is fluid, and I'm just having a look. There you go. There's one calette left in there that hasn't melted. So that's a pretty good sign that I'm more or less at the right stage. I can just encourage that last one to melt right down. You really don't want big bits of chocolate at all. You want it all to be completely smooth. So one last check. Just while that's going down. So you've tempered your chocolate. The big question that you're often going to ask when you start working with chocolate is it tempered? Okay, and it's a question that you should be asking. There's a couple of different ways you can do to check, and I'll show you a couple of good indicators and then some solid methods that will tell you if it's good to go and good to work with. One of the ones that I use as an indicator is my chocolate in the right sort of range, is the one I've shown you already, where I pour the chocolate and just have a look where the chocolate's landing. If it builds up on itself and forms a little mound, it's a good indication that the chocolate has crystallized enough to start forming a structure. That's a good indication. It's not foolproof, but it's a good start, okay? So another one, which is quite popular with pastry chefs, chocolatiers, is take a palette knife, some chocolate on the bottom, so there, not loads and loads and loads, you can knock a bit off. I'm just being tidy by turning that bit, and you can turn it upside down, and you can just put it on the table there, and it will start to form a drip and drip down. Now, if that drips down and it sets in that sort of stalactite formation, stalactites, yeah, and sets, it's tempered. And another one that we often do is just take a little piece of paper, put it in. Doesn't have to be loads and loads of chocolate. You want to get a little bit so that you can have a little look at the thickness of it. And then put it somewhere cool in the kitchen. Don't get caught out by putting it, say for example, underneath this workstation there's a fridge here. So that warms up this bit of marble. So try not to put it somewhere warm. You just put it somewhere nice and cool, out of the way somewhere where you know that it's going to get an opportunity to set. Okay, so I'm just going to put it out the way. And those two methods would be the ones I'd probably choose to see if it sets. But as you have more time working with chocolate, you will start to recognize the chocolates, that it's tempered by the fluidity of the chocolate, and you will start to see. But the best way to tell is, have you followed the temperature ranges? Is your chocolate in the working range? This chocolate is at 32 exactly, and I'm very happy to say that that's definitely tempered. So you've got your chocolate tempered and you're ready to work. Big question is, how do I keep the chocolate within this working range? And it's one thing that students will struggle with a lot when they first start. And it's, to be honest with you, one of the more tedious things about working with chocolate is keeping it in that range. So it's a really good point to show you. So one of the reasons I really prefer these round metal bowls is I can directly transfer this back onto my bain-marie nice and easily, immediately. And if the water is steaming and I've lost a bit of temperature here, let's say for example this has now gone to 30, 31, and I want it at 32, in my experience 5 seconds will be 1 degree if the water is steaming. So what I always say to students is, just take your bowl, put it on, count to 5, take it off, give it a really good stir. Try and keep the bowl as neat and tidy as you can. Again, it's just experience, practice. Give it a really good stir, and then check the temperature and have a look, see where you are. And that process of keeping your chocolate in temper is time consuming and a little bit tricky, but it's one of the things you'll get used to working with chocolate. But it's absolutely crucial. So what happens if the chocolate gets too cold? Let's say it goes all the way down to 25. It's not a big problem at all. All it's doing is setting. It's still in temper. All you need to do is put it back on the bain-marie, warm it up carefully, and get it to that working range, 31 to 32. And then of course the other thing is, what happens if I get it too hot on the bain-marie? I've left it, I've made a mistake. It's not the end of the world, the chocolate's not ruined, it's just out of temper, and you've got to start the process again, which is good because it's good practice for you. The test of the temper, you can see on the back of the chocolate, this is set nice and smooth, nice and fast, and that it snaps when you bend the palette knife. So the chocolate will be nice and set, it will come off in one piece, and you'll be able to snap the chocolate. It's quite a small piece, but you can snap it. And then I can put that piece of chocolate, tempered chocolate, back into my bowl if I wanted, but the thing to remember is that will cool the mass of the chocolate down. So I wouldn't necessarily do that just in this case. The other one as well, on the paper, you can see that has set, and you can manipulate it, and that the chocolate snaps so that you can see it's tempered. Okay.